Socrates, Garrett Live, every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with church leaders, politicians, business owners, and others. The time is now. Talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live, every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Good evening. It's good to be in the studio again on this Friday afternoon here in Jackson, Mississippi, where God spared us from the terrible outcome of Ida as she roared through Louisiana and parts of Mississippi, just wreaking havoc on everything in her path. I want to say to our neighbors down in Louisiana that, our prayers and our well wishes and our finances are with you. One thing about folk in Mississippi, we show up in times of disasters and we share and we open our homes and our wallets and our hearts to those that are suffering. And so as we did with Katrina and we are doing currently with Ida. So to our neighbors down south, stay positive, stay focused, and we'll get through this together. I also want to say to our viewers all across the country, many of you know that We Believe Digital is being broadcast throughout the entire country, over 149 countries. We're being seen on Roku TV as well as our own platform, We Believe Digital. And so we're able to get out and get the message out where local radio stations and TV stations are not able to do so. So it's very important that we have this broadcast studio available to us to assist our friends in needs and to talk about other important things. I just want the world to know that we are saddened by the fact that the district attorney, a good friend of mine, prominent lawyer in Mississippi, Robert Schuler Smith, was in a bad accident. We're praying for him and his family. We are sending up prayer warriors all around. An outstanding young man, had so much to give and so much to offer this country, this state, and this world until we just cannot afford to lose him. So we're praying for him in every regard. Now, traditionally, I've spoken to you about the ills in society, about the things that we could do better to build a business, to create an enterprise, to create an environment that's conducive for folks to be able to improve their quality of life. And the only way that you can do that is to be able to improve your economic position from wherever you are. If you cannot improve the economics of what you're doing, then it's going to be hard to change anything. It's hard to get out of poverty when you've been in poverty for generations and generations. It's hard to make that leap out of poverty. But in America, it can and has been done. And so we remain hopeful of the American dream. The life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that every person in this country can become, someone can improve their family conditions and move into the middle class and beyond, enjoying the American dream. And so that's traditionally the kinds of things that we've talked about. And tonight we're going to shift gears just a little bit, because it's been brought to our attention that, we are not really focusing on the imminent danger that's ravishing this country on a day-to-day basis. And that's the impact of this COVID-19 and Delta variant that's taken this country by storm. And if we don't come up with solutions, if we don't come up with methods and methodologies in order to deal with that, I'm afraid, as many scientists have said, that we're going to be in for the long haul and with devastating results as we go forward. So tonight, this program is being brought to you by SGE COVID Solution. SGE COVID Solutions has partnered with Suresafe Environmental Services. And Suresafe Environmental Services has created a pathogen protection system like none other in this country. And my guest, Mike Landry, which I'm going to shift to now, Mike Landry is known throughout this country as one of the experts when it comes to dealing with and understanding how this virus works and what we must do to try to gain control over our environment, our communities, our schools, our churches, and our workplace. So, Mike, it's good to have you on with us today. I want you to introduce yourself to our audience all over the world and tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Socrates. Oddly enough, my background has been in designing and building custom homes, large-scale construction projects for about 25 years. And I was actually the home improvement talk show host on Clear Channel and iHeartRadio for 15 years. Wow. And when this pandemic hit, we witnessed a new industry emerging. And we witnessed an issue that we had to deal with. How are we going to mitigate this? Is it going to be forever, or can we get rid of it in a couple of days? So as this thing continued, I decided to get into this space. And, you know, the funny thing about construction, it's a brutal teacher. And Socrates can witness that.
Oh, absolutely.
When you make a mistake, it's brutal. Okay. So it's, you know, for all those years, you keep sticking your hand on a hot stove and it burns you, you learn not to do that. So when I decided to get into this space, I realized that just like a builder, you've got to build a team of people to define what the pathogen is, how does it hurt people, how do we mitigate it, and what are the best technologies to use. So when I put the team together, I found one of the top industrial hygienists in the country. And when I started working with him and started bringing these technologies to the table, I started learning a lot of lessons, okay, and things that I would never think about, you know, because I don't have background in epidemiology. I don't have background in chemical development. So the challenge was to assemble a team of experts so that we didn't put the wrong products out, we didn't apply them incorrectly, and we're addressing all the pathways of infection to provide the best chance to mitigate you catching it. And I'll tell you, what we thought was going to take a couple of months took us literally 10 months.
Wow.
We went through all of the technologies out there. And, you know, you've got a lot of experience with that, Socrates.
Oh, yeah, we have. Mike, for our viewers, though, let's go back to the beginning. There are a lot of misconceptions about where this virus originated. How did this spread so rapidly, and why is this virus able to wreak so much havoc in our communities?
Well, I can't speak to the medical side of it. I can only talk to you about the pathways of infection. It's in how fast it spreads. Okay, so one of the things that there's data out now. I know that everybody believes that aerosols are the primary mode of transportation. And what we know now is that that's not 100% accurate. It is a method of transmission, but you can simply Google, okay, because this is very similar to the common cold or the flu. So you can go to Google, and some people now are familiar, if they've got kids, with RSVs. That's childhood pneumonia. That's on the rise right now. So you can look up that, or you can look up cold and flu. And very simply, just like COVID, it spreads through droplets, okay? So when somebody's talking, they're emitting droplets. And if they're yelling, then they create larger droplets, and they go a lot longer. And there is a percentage of that aerosolizes, and these are smaller particles that stay airborne. There's a recent study out that was done in a hospital environment with 6 COVID patients per room with care providers that are exposed on an average of 49 minutes. And they tracked, they were able to quantify the viral load, how many particles you're exposed to in that period of time, and what level of infection that you would gain or that you do gain from that exposure. So there's basically four levels. So you got 1,000 viral particles, you got a 10,000, you've got 100,000 and a million. And so what happens is that person, that nurse is exposed to that group for 49 minutes. So the maximum viral load that was achieved during that time frame was 1,000 to 10,000 viral particles. Well, their study concluded that you could not gain severe exposure or illness from that exposure. It actually turned out to be a benefit because it's engaging your immune system and creating a response. But the worst outcome in that time frame was you would lose, you would have one symptom. Okay, so maybe loss of smell, loss of taste, but no shedding. So you're not infected to where you're spreading. For you to actually, according to this study, for you to actually gain enough viral particles, which would be 100,000 to a million, to gain severe infection, it would take 4, 5, 6 hours of concentrated exposure in a poorly ventilated space. Well, there's just not that many scenarios that I can think of in the past 17 months that contribute or create that kind of atmosphere. You know, we've been wearing masks, we've been social distancing, we've been locked down. So those you know, I live in Houston. We've got 6 million people here. Those environments don't exist. So you've got to go back to logic, right? This is a lot like the cold and the flu. It's a respiratory virus. It can spread through aerosols, but we don't believe that that is the primary pathway of infection and how it spreads. And this Delta variant, according to new information out, is 1,000 times more infectious than the previous Alpha. So here's the key to this whole thing. If you look up cold and flu, Google it. How is it spread? Two of the major pathways is getting it on your hands and touching your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. It's the only way that virus can enter your body. Wow. So if you touch a surface and you touch your eyes, your nose, and your face, you can transmit the virus.
Well, you know, I was driving by the hospital today, and on their billboard, it said, "Do not touch your face. Wash your hands. Do not touch your face with your hands." And that was a prominent sign there at the hospital. And for some reason, I think what you're saying is that the transmission and the way this virus travels is from contact from your skin to other parts of your body that the virus can enter.
I'm not saying that aerosols or airborne particles will not provide infection. But the key is that, you know, a lot of the organizations are using masks, which would mitigate a lot of that projection, right? So masks are good for that purpose. But assuming that they don't have the mask, you still have to get that particle off of that surface into your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. And that's mostly done through your hands. So the things that are being implemented now that I think are very good, a lot of the school systems are making modifications to their mechanical systems to introduce bipolar ionization, UV lights, making sure the systems are working according to their design standards, no duct leakage. So all of those things are going to do some wonderful things in the school environment that have been problematic for years. You know, you've got your carbon dioxide levels in there are high. It reduces cognitive learning, so it will improve that. Volatiles, things that you smell that affect you that are not good for you. So there's a lot of positive things that are going to come from that and help address these airborne particles. But we still have to focus on how are we going to deal with your hands and surfaces, because COVID or SARS-CoV-2, it can live on surfaces for days. And some of the challenges that every one of these facilities faces. What do we do? What can we do? We're disinfecting 5 times a day. We have people fogging the building every day. I've had superintendents tell me we are logging that they come in every day. So what's the challenge with that? Why is that not working?
Well,
Why
I
is
tell
that not
you,
effective?
I tell you, those were the methods that were introduced early on, and the system and the technology hadn't changed much for many of our folk in the school system. Mike, we're going to take a break here. We'll be right back after this commercial. Stay tuned.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, SGE COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let SGE COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art bio-risk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs.
Mike, we're back, and I want to stay right there. The methodologies, the protocols that have been used, and the method of transmission. All of these things are tremendously important. This is not a very sexy conversation, but this is one that's critical. That we try to get the word out in our communities, especially with our schools starting back now, and many of them have had to close. Many of them have students that are quarantined now. And so it's critical that we do our part in getting this out. So you're saying that, the traditional methods of spraying and things like that are not very effective. Is that right?
Okay, let me be clear. The things that they're doing are helpful, okay? But there's better things there's newer technologies that have been that have emerged that can provide sustained protection. Okay, some of the challenges that each of these institutions face is they're dealing with what they know. They're dealing with what they have access to. The traditional disinfectants that we use, they are effective. I'm not saying that they're not, but when you have an environment that are cleaning the surfaces like they're supposed to, and they're applying these disinfectants by design that are approved to mitigate the COVID or the SARS-CoV-2 virus, they kill for a specific period of time, and then it's over. So if you look on the list N, which are the approved products and emerging pathogens on the EPA's website, then most of those products, they work within 5 to 10 minutes. Now, sadly, a lot of these products are not being applied properly. You can go into a lot of restaurants and see that. So a good example is when you walk into the restaurant and they say, let me clean the table for you. And then they spray the table and they wipe it off real quick and they're trying to get it dry so you'll sit down. Well, if that chemical doesn't stay wet for its prescribed period of time, which is 5 to 10 minutes, then it's not killing. It's sanitizing. So effectively, if you're trying to target something like SARS-CoV-2, you're just spreading it around. So
wow. I see that being done in banks, in restaurants, and almost everywhere you go, Mike.
Well, let me tell you why. And I had no clue. There's people that have been in janitorial for 30 years. There's national companies that provide janitorial services, and they apply disinfectants every day. What I learned after about 3 months into this is that they've never had a training program to teach the application of disinfection. So, and the use of these products. So what happened is the IICRC. Now, this is an organization that teaches mold remediation. They certify these guys nationally, asbestos abatement, crime scene mitigation. I mean, these are the guys that train these professionals nationwide and have for 30 years. And they realized that there was no training to teach people how to apply and use disinfectants and under what conditions. So they put an entire board together of virologists and engineers and all the people it took to really look at the health side of it and look at the application of products and provided a training. Now, this is only 12 months ago. So if you didn't go to safety school for college, if you did not get an industrial hygiene education and degree, then you really haven't been exposed to how to mitigate and deal with harmful pathogens. And the companies that sell these products, they try to educate them on how to apply them. But if you really don't know the implications of improperly applying stuff, then you're dealing with something that you really don't know the downside to. So all in all, we finally have some training that these organizations can engage to understand it. But when you're dealing with a pathogen like this, you can see the implications of things maybe not being doing the best, being done the best that they could.
Okay, so Mike, so we've spent a lot of time, we've talked about how the virus reacts and how it's transmitted, et cetera. And we talked about some of the methodologies being used to try and prevent or mitigate this virus. But tell us about Suresafe's pathogen protection system. And I want you to explain to our viewers what you've come up with, how you were able to do that, and the benefits and the effect of the Suresafe pathogen protection system.
Okay, so first thing is when we deal with a pathogen, we need to know how that pathogen spreads. So we develop industrial hygiene protocols, and we create a white paper that says that this pathogen, this virus, is spread through the hand surfaces and through the air. So now we know how it's spread. What do we do to mitigate that? So the next thing is that you want the most powerful disinfectant on the planet. You don't want that disinfectant to create more superbugs you can't control. So that really reduces the classification of products that we would use. You want that disinfectant so powerful that it's number one on the planet. It's in the top tier. So our disinfectant has what's called a 6-log kill. So when you see 99.9999, it's King Kong. It's in the top King Kong range. The other thing is that you don't want to have to be forced to rinse the surface after the disinfectant kills. That's a problem with a lot of the older technologies. This one doesn't require that. And one of the last important aspects of that design is that it kills the cell. It destroys it. So it's not like a poison with what these other technologies do. It poisons the cell, but the cell's still there. So it can become resistant to it. This technology obliterates the cell. So it can't mutate, it can't aerosolize, and it can't colonize, right? So that's the key. And each of these things I'm going to tell you about, they won't contribute to new superbugs. They don't have a mechanism to do that. So once you get the perfect disinfectant that you can spray on an apple and eat it, but it's got that kind of power, Aldi grocery stores nationwide use that disinfectant to treat their fruits and vegetables every day, and it prolongs their life. It's an incredible.
Let me hear that again. You're telling me that you have a disinfectant that's powerful enough to kill this virus, but yet you can spray it on fruit and eat the fruit?
Well, let me tell you this. It's the same technology that we're bringing to hospitals. It has no known enemies, and it has the broadest range of pathogens. It's not, we haven't found one it can't deal with yet. There's a really nasty virus or a bacteria called C. diff, and it's very problematic in hospitals and medical communities. And it's highly transmissible. It's aerosolized. It's like mold, but it just gives these medical communities a fit. Now, we're testing it against that right now, and we're absolutely certain that the log reduction is going to be very high. And what that does for the hospital is this reduces all the different chemicals that they're using down to one that's a registered organic. I mean, the USDA has approved this to be applied to all your meats, fruits, vegetables, and poultry and everything. So that's a traditional disinfectant, and that's what prepares these surfaces. Now we're going to go into another thing where we're actually evolving protection. There's a surface protection and there's hand protection. Okay, so let's talk about what's currently being used and what the limitations are. The surface protectant, all the chemicals, no matter what disinfectant they're using, you have 5 to 10 minutes to kill. And then we basically have a new petri dish. So the team walks out, you walk in, little Bobby wipes his mouth, and he's sick and touches the surface, and now you have a transmissible surface.
This is 15 minutes after you've applied the disinfectant.
No, 5 to 10 minutes. Once that chemical dries, it's not doing anything anymore. It's over until you come back in and spray it again.
Well,
right?
most of our events are much longer than 5 to 10, 15 minutes. I mean, when we go to church on Sunday, that's an hour service. And so
Correct.
when we go into classrooms, that's 20, 30-minute classrooms. So I don't know of an event that's over before 10 or 15 minutes.
Right. But see, that is the limitation. And that's the thing that we continue to look for, something that would provide sustained protection. The key to this is that there's technologies that were built 50 years ago that were designed and intended to replace a lot of these antiquated technologies, but it just never got to market. And the key to this is that once we apply that, once we prep those surfaces, your chairs, your computers, your wall, even the walls, the door handles, all of it, this new technology bonds to that surface and becomes a new surface. So it's a antifungal, antibacterial, and mold and mildew cannot live on that surface. So dust won't stick to it either.
So many of our viewers are able to see. I'm sitting here at this podium, in this broadcast studio right now. Are you telling me that your system creates a new surface on this platform right here?
I'm going to spray a technology on your mic, on your clothes, on the wall, all of it. It permanently bonds to that. It's transparent. You can't see it. It's microscopic. But it basically, it's like a sword, okay? It's a mechanical system. It's not a chemical system. And once that technology bonds to that surface, it creates this little, there's like 100,000 swords in a centimeter, a square centimeter. And it's electrostatic, it's biostatic, so it's electric. So what happens is when these particles touch the surface, it lyses the cell, and then the biostatic surface obliterates it. So there's no colonization, there's no air, you can't swipe it off the surface and re-aerosolize it. It's done, and it kills the cell, so there's no mutation, okay? And it's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, wow. And our label says 3 months before we have to come in and correct for abraded surfaces. So the key to that is that you have to have the daily sanitation. You've got to keep the dirt and the dust off the surface so that biostatic microscopic surface can do its job. But it's creating an inhospitable surface for that COVID to try to survive on that surface to transmit, and many other pathogens. We wanted to make sure that this was addressing a broad range of problems that people have. They've got E. coli, they've got staph, they've got all kinds of things that they fight every day, some of which become problematic. So this will enhance their normal sanitation practices without us having to do it every day. And it'll take the janitorial and the custodial support to where they only have to do it once a day. You don't have to do it 10 times a day.
You don't have to. You don't have to do it after every classroom, every change of class, or every movement of personnel. You don't have to do that every time someone new comes in the room.
No, they're going to take that miracle disinfectant that we have, and once a day they're going to hit the high touch surfaces that people touch all day long, right?
Wow.
That maintains the surface. But you've got something working underneath the chair. I mean, we flip the tables over, we spray everything, right? Everything's coated. So if you grab underneath the table, that defense mechanism is working.
Wow.
So that covers all your surfaces, right? Now, another thing that's problematic in schools and hospitals are towels, sheets, linens, curtains. The surface coating, 2 ounces added to the wash. There's an extensive hospital study on this in a live hospital environment. Blood, bad smells, the whole thing. Long-term storage for towels, gone. It's called bio-loading, okay? So somebody's sick and they're sweating and they get that all. Well, unless you wash it, it's not coming off. It's still there. So what this does is reduces the bio-loading from 65% to 100%.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that's incredible. And it kills odor-causing bacteria. You can throw wet towels in the corner and they won't mold up. You can put towels or blankets in long-term storage and they won't mold up. It's
incredible. Mike, we're gonna keep sharing with our viewers. This is tremendously important. This show is being brought to you by SGE COVID Solution. Go to our website and you can see most of the things that we're talking about. Stay tuned.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, SGE COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let SGE COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs.
We're back. SGE COVID Solutions. SGE is a 40-year-old company that's been in business that long, and that we have a phenomenal reputation for bringing great products and service to this marketplace and beyond. We've done our tour in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. We've done it up in the Dakotas. We've been a contractor now throughout this entire environment. We have teamed with Suresafe Environmental Services. And as we developed this relationship, we realized how important it was to change the dynamics, because SGE traditionally was one of those outfits that was spraying disinfectants on the surface and going through a series of protocols designed to help mitigate this virus. But we did not have a pathogen protection system until we teamed up with Suresafe Environmental Services with Mike Landry, and that has created a phenomenal system that protects your coatings and your surfaces for up to 90 days. That is unheard of. That is a phenomenal system that we apply the disinfectant, the toughest disinfectant in the world, that's safe to use, and then we seal it on that coating, creating a new surface in itself that the virus cannot transmit and penetrate. This is a game changer for all of our viewers out there. This is a system that you must have if you're going to do everything you possibly can to mitigate this virus. Now, Suresafe Environmental Services has developed a series of offerings that go along with this wonderful technology. Mike, I want you to speak to the reports that you give. I want you to speak to subrogation, and those things that will benefit our clients a little bit. Tell them a little bit more about Suresafe.
Okay, so I'm gonna add one more component to this, because you have to look at this approach, this solution, as a system. Okay, it's not product driven. There's as much emphasis put on how these technologies are applied and tested while we're going through the process, as there is that each of these pathways have to be addressed effectively. So the last part of the system is this hand sanitizer. Here,
Okay, all right.
Okay, so this took 9 years to develop. The chemist that developed this technology with his partner Todd's daughter has cystic fibrosis, and if she gets any bacterial infection, she's dead. So they took part of the chemist was one of Dow Chemical's chief scientists for 36 years, and developed this surface coating while he was there. So he developed this as part of the patented bonding technology to put it into the hand sanitizer, because the problem with hand sanitizers is they last for 2 minutes. They kill while they're wet, just like surface disinfectants. So we need long-term protection. So now we just got through doing live COVID testing on this. And this has been tested against 13 of the nastiest things in hospitals: MRSA, C. diff, staph, there's a whole bunch of things. And you're talking 99.9999 log reduction on something as problematic as C. diff, okay? We just did a live COVID test on this. And 30 seconds to 8 hours, it's 99.82. So it's basically a 3 log kill. So, but the key is it's got the patented technology in it so that when you put it on your hands, it doesn't come off. You can't wash it off. It permanently bonds to your skin, and your skin naturally exfoliates. So the reason it doesn't last 24 hours, and you shouldn't really respond to products that make those claims, is because people have skin conditions. There's all kinds of issues that the perfect human being might last 24 hours, but this won't. So now we've got the hand protection that works, right? You only have to put this on if your kids are going to school. They put it on in the morning. They're good all day. They put it on before they get in the bus. They're good till they go to sleep. So, and you can wash your hands. You can put alcohol on your hands. Doesn't matter. So now that we've got that system to address each of these pathways, the application of these products is very critical, because we've tested it 100 different ways, and we have insurance. We have special insurance.
Mike, before we go to the insurance, I want to deal with that a little bit on the hand protection system. Because everywhere I go now, we get a lot of alcohol-based hand sanitizers that are being used out there. And it really creates a problem for me. Not only does it dry your skins out, I just don't feel safe by putting ethanol and methanol on my hands and my skin every day for day-to-day applications, and 3 or 4 times a day. I just don't think that makes good sense. What's your thought?
Okay, well, here's the challenge with alcohol. It's been an effective tool for many, many years, but it was never intended to be used at the frequency that we're using it. And the studies that are out now are showing an explosion in dermatitis because it dries the skin out, right?
Yeah.
And there's two issues with that. One, now you're dealing with dermatitis, but the bigger problem is that when you start getting cracks on your hands and it hurts, you stop using it. So now you're not even benefiting from it, but it's not designed for that kind of frequency. And what this does is this actually encapsulates the moisture in your skin and restores it. It's like when you put it on, it's like a high-end moisturizer you'd buy at a really expensive store. Every doctor I've put this on their hands, they absolutely love it. So it does a lot of really great things. But you don't have to put it on 15 times a day. You only have to put it on once.
So if you put this on your child's hand in the morning before they go off to school, their hands are going to be protected until they return home.
Yep.
And if their hands are protected, the likelihood of them being able to transmit this disease, this virus, into their body from the hands, which has got to touch some part of your face in order for you to become effective, is really minimized.
Well, and let's talk about that. So let's say we go into hypothetically, let's go into a school, right?
Yeah.
And we treat every surface, the walls, the glass, the windows, the computers, we treat everything, right? Well, what we couldn't treat was the laptop that little Bobby brought in. We couldn't treat his cup. We couldn't treat his phone, a number of things that we don't have access to treat. So what this does is it effectively mitigates that from transferring off of your cup onto your hand, and then you go rub your eyes, or you wipe your nose, or you wipe your mouth. That's the only 3 ways that this virus can enter your body. So we've got to address stopping this from being the car that gets it into the house.
And we do that with this hand solution. And what's the ingredient, the primary ingredient in this product?
Well, it's called BZK, and the BZK is a great technology, but it takes other things, other proprietary technology we have, to bond it to your skin. You're gonna see a lot of products on the internet that have BZK. It's an active ingredient that the FDA has approved, and the key is that our product is made in an FDA approved facility. It took 3 years. This has gone through 3 years of FDA testing and human trials to get approval.
Wow.
So this is not something that popped up, right after COVID. There are a lot of products out there, and the EPA and the FDA are going crazy because there's so many entities out there that have come up with these phantom products, and they can't. I mean, there's just tens and tens of thousands of them, and they can't regulate them fast enough. They're trying to get them off the market. There's a lot of false claims on these websites, and believe me, the EPA is going after everybody making false claims. If it's not on the label, forget any other statement that they make, and that's exactly what the EPA is enforcing. If you don't have a label claim, don't make the claim.
I got you. So, Mike, I want you to summarize the Suresafe environmental pathogen protection system. Just walk us through it once again before we move on to the reportings and all the other benefits that Suresafe will bring. Walk us through this system once again.
Okay, let me just give you a walkthrough of what happens when we go treat a building. I'm in LA, I'm in San Francisco. There's some huge brand names that you're going to see. We treated the state capital, Louisiana. So you're going to see some really big names hitting the table that we were finalizing contracts with now. The key to this is, one, have the right combination of products. But before we start, if we're going to fix a problem, we have to understand the problem. So we write industrial hygiene protocols, cleaning protocols, and we take each site, and we determine based on how that space is developed, whether you got bathrooms and kitchens and what kind of unique cleaning areas that we have. And then we have testing requirements that those protocols require. So we quantify the dirt on the surfaces. We test the surfaces with special swabbing and computers to make sure that there's no films and nothing that would prevent the disinfectant from killing. We record all of that, and then we apply the protective coating, and then we write up a report.
Well, let's hold up right there. Are you saying that if the surface is not clean, the disinfectant can't do its job?
No, disinfectants, okay, this is a common misunderstanding. Disinfectants kill pathogens that they are specified to kill, things they've been tested against. But if there's dirt on that surface, if there's fingerprints, those are called films, oils, right? And many times you can't see those. So if you don't test that surface, then you don't know if those films it acts like a blanket to bacteria, okay? So when you could pour gallons of disinfectant on there and it's not going to kill what you're trying to kill because there is dirt that needs to be removed. That's disinfection 101. You must physically clean the surface for you to be able to benefit from the disinfectant, right? And you must meet the dwell time for the disinfectant to do the job. So those are the two rules with that. That's why UV lights and these air systems that they're claiming will disinfect surfaces can never be used other than a secondary system, because and you have people running around using fogging machines all the time. If they're not physically cleaning those surfaces every single time that they're trying to provide treatment, then they are accomplishing nothing.
Wow. Wow. And I see a lot of people who have got a fogging machine on the back of their pickup truck, and they are now in the disinfecting business, representing that they can mitigate this virus. That's really unfortunate.
Well, let me ask you a question, Socrates. I have insurance that is a specialty insurance. One, we have professional liability to consult on site, just like a doctor or anybody else. The second thing is that we have subrogation insurance. Okay, so if we go in and we treat that building, then we add that client to our insurance, and if they have COVID-19 lawsuits, then the insurance company is going to help them engage that. Okay, and that's specifically for COVID-19 and communicable diseases. So I'm underwritten for that because they know that our protocols, our system will provide a predictable, proven result. So if you go back to your cleaning companies or people that are selling you COVID solutions, ask them for the insurance. They're not going to have it. And ask them, how are you going to prove that what you did was effective? How are you going to prove that the surfaces were clean enough to benefit from the disinfectant? And they say, well, we don't, we did it right. Well, prove it. The reason that we instituted these testing protocols is because of court cases. The hygienist, who's an expert witness, says, I'm going to ask you these questions. So we have to develop procedures to validate proof of efficacy, that you did the job correctly and documented it.
Wow.
Period.
Wow, Mike, stay right there. I mean, this tremendous information. I don't know of any other company that's representing that they have a system, that they have insurance protection, that they will go to court with you in case that you need emergency response, all in the Suresafe pathogen protection system. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
COVID's protocol firm, SGE COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let SGE COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs.
We're back to our viewers. We're here with Mike Landry, the president of Suresafe Environmental Services. Suresafe has developed a pathogen protection system that's different from any other system out there that guarantees that we will help mitigate this virus. And we have subrogation insurance for our clients. We have all of the reports that are necessary to prove exactly what we did, what we found when we first came in the door, how effective was the cleaning process. And many of you out there don't really recognize how important it is that the surface be clean before the process starts. And to properly clean a surface requires some muscle and some manpower and some labor. And you stay in the environment for quite a while, turning desktops over, wiping down and scrubbing the legs on the stools and the chairs and where the kids sit. it's a tremendous task to get it set up properly so that the disinfectant and the protective coating system can do its job. Now, Mike, you mentioned that you have technology, you have meters that tell you how clean a surface is. So when you go into the room, do you actually test the surface for the cleanliness? And this is no knock on janitorial staffs and the cleaning folk that are out there. But when you go into that environment, you have to run an analysis to see if that surface is clean enough for you to install the pathogen protection system. Is that correct?
Yes, there's technologies that have swabs that have an active agent on the end of it. So you pull it out, and you swab the surface. And we did a mock. We took one classroom, and I brought, I don't know, four. Would you have 4 people there, Socrates?
Yeah, right.
And the school room looked well maintained. So there's 3 processes that we use, and I said we're going to come in and we're going to treat this room so you can understand the level of cleanliness that has to be achieved for these disinfectants to do their job. And I'm going to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt through this testing protocol whether your current disinfection practices are being effective or not. And I don't care what chemical you're using. So when we got in there, how long we were in that one classroom? Hour and a half, 2 hours?
Hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right.
In one classroom.
So that's right, one classroom with 3 people. So we flipped the chairs over, and they were caked in dirt, okay? We took white Swiffers, and I went on top of bookshelves and just basically wiped it, and I showed them that it's black, right? And I said, no, this is not good. We record that, and then we take the swab in the computer, and we swab it to quantify the buildup. So for disinfectants to be effective, it has to read below 50, okay? I was getting quantities anywhere from 195 to 1,500. And there was not one service that I tested that was close to 50. So then we start the deep cleaning. This is flipping desk over. I mean, everything's got to be clean, right? So we do that deep clean once a year. But once we started flipping all that stuff over and they saw the amount of stuff that we were pulling out of there, they were floored. They were shocked. And that's what's going to happen if these court cases ever hit. They're going to look at, what'd you do? And there's going to be somebody with my training, like my hygienist on the other side, asking these questions. What chemicals are you using? How are you applying them? Can you demonstrate? And then they're going to go into these buildings and they're going to walk around in 10 minutes. They're going to have enough recorded to where there's no defense, right? Because the dirt's there. We have to remove the dirt. There's too many people out there selling these technologies that don't understand pathogens and how they infect people, which is called epidemiology. And then they're selling technologies they don't fully understand, like UV lights, UVC lights. These technologies are great, but you have to combine it with standard practices that are known. These practices have been known ever since disinfectants evolved. The problem is the training is not readily available, and it's not their fault. Okay, and I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying that when I train custodial staffs or our master trainer trains them, they love it because they've never heard it before. Everybody wants to do a good job. They're just missing some components that will help them understand it. And you've got companies that are getting flooded with all these brochures and big brand names and all this. And they're trying to do the best they can, but they don't understand how to interpret these technologies or how to analyze them. So when we come in and I do a presentation for them, we provide a complete support system for them. I say, show me everything you've looked at and show me the things you like or you thought would be effective. Okay. Then I have my hygienist do a review of those technologies in terms of their capabilities, and what he thinks the pluses and the minuses are, and I provide them with a report. And once they see that, they wouldn't have picked that because there's a better alternative. So the other thing is we've got a lot of issues now with new people coming in from out of the country that are introducing some things that represent things that we haven't seen in 50 years. So I was at a school with Socrates, and they had a TB outbreak. Well, what are you going to do? Where's your hygienist? Who's going to help you determine what to do? They got a problem and they got to solve it. So I said, tell you what, I'll have a report on your desk tomorrow, 24 hours, pathways of infection, and what protocols you need to do to follow to deal with this, and whether we have any special remediation that needs to be done. So now that school is not going to be in the pathogen control business, buying analyzing technology to fix it. We provide a complete support system, and they can call 24/7.
Wow.
So then once we get through writing that stuff up and submitting it to them and telling them what the response is and whether our system is already mitigating that, they will be able to make an effective decision within 36 hours.
Wow. And it's tremendously important. You know, the African American community is really hard hit by this virus for more than one reason. I mean, it could be slow vaccination rates probably got a lot to do with it, but protocols and understanding how to try and protect yourself is critically important. And so for that reason, most of the funding that has gone to our school systems has been targeted toward those schools that are in the poorer communities that need the help the most. And throughout this country, we are trying our best to offer a solution, a system that can help mitigate this virus in those areas. It's critically important to me that we do that. And so, Mike, talk to us a little bit about the equipment. I noticed that the sprayer system that we use for the coating is tremendously different than the sprayers I see and foggers that I see people with today.
Here's the challenge with the fogging equipment. They've become very popular. And one of the things that we did, we ended up testing almost $100,000 worth of sprayers. And the reason we end up having to continue to buy these things, and they range anywhere from $200 to I think the most expensive one was $6,000. And we were because we're doing large spaces and we needed the most effective equipment. And the manufacturer that I work with that makes these chemicals has 16 years of experience. And he kept telling me, worry about this, worry about that, worry about this. So we kept buying these equipment. And I was like, some of this stuff we waited for 6 weeks and it looks awesome. Some of them have cool terms like electrostatic, and you got to be careful. You got to ignore terminology. When you take a bucket of chemical that's 100 strength and you put it in a machine and it comes out 10 strength, you have a problem. And that's, literally only about 5% of those devices actually got me the product to the surface at 100 ppm. So that's a problem. Another issue is the manufacturer in these chemicals says for you to get that kill log, that kill rate, I need 700 square feet per gallon. And a lot of and I had this problem too. You're spraying that stuff and you're getting 3,000 to 4,000 square feet per gallon. And wow, it's hard to figure out how to modify, how to adjust the equipment to get enough of that product to meet those standards, because it looks sexy when you're spraying stuff all over the place and it looks wet. But if you're not meeting the gallon, the square footage per gallon, then you're not getting the kill.
Wow. And it's tremendously important to know that there's the dwell time of the disinfectant on the surface is critically important. And if you got electrostatic sprayers and fine mist, etc., it looks good, but are you getting the dwell time that's required for the disinfectant to do its job, even after you clean the surface? Even if the surface has been prepared properly, you still have to get the dwell time with the disinfectant and for it to do its job. And then you have to have something that keeps it on the surface. And that's where our coating comes in. And that's the essence of our pathogen protection system. So don't let anybody come in and say, we're just going to fog and spray with a fine mist unit and think that you're protected beyond the time that they're there.
I'm going to tell you this right now. There's not one electrostatic system that I've seen that will spray the disinfectant and it will do it will charge the particles, and it will go 360 degrees around things at the power of 10 and not 100.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's water. It charges the water and wraps it around. Okay.
Right.
But the problem is that the other thing is, when you're talking about making the mist finer, then you're using less of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And where you're going to come into trouble is, how are you going to get 700 square feet per gallon? You're just going to have to keep repeating the process. So it's better to have larger particles so that you meet those dwell times. And if you put, I don't think you realize how long 10 minutes is. Take one of them little stopwatches that you cook your hot dogs with and put it on there and spray your countertop at your house and put it on 10 minutes and see how difficult it is to keep a surface wet for 10 minutes.
Wow. Mike, we're coming to the close of our broadcast this evening, but we're going to be back, and we're going to continue to bring information and ideas and concepts, new technology to our viewers. It's tremendously important. But to you, those of you out there that are running hospitals, you're running school systems, you're running large businesses, unfortunately, we are not recommending this system to the home market as of today. Our client base pretty much has been 35,000 square feet of facilities and above, Mike. I believe that's our target market. And so if you're running that type of facility and that kind of operation, and as Mike said earlier, our client base runs from Montana to California to the courthouse building in Louisiana, all over this country, and international as well. Our products are in Peru and things of that nature. So what we got to do is we got to make this system available to you out there. So I want y'all to call us at 800-281-9080. Reach out to us. Go to sgecovidsolutions.com, click on services, and it'll bring up the pathogen protection system and walk you through everything that Mike's been talking about today. It's tremendously important that you do that so that we have a chance of saving lives and keeping our children and keeping our communities healthy. Mike, you got any closing words you want to share, to kind of summarize quickly for our viewers?
Well, it doesn't matter what area, what part of the country you're in. I was on the phone with UK and Australia last night, so we're doing international stuff too. But the key to this is, if you want to explore some conversation, let me talk to you about what you're doing. Let me talk to you about how we can help improve that. We're happy to talk to you anytime. I fly all over the country, from California to Florida. I've been meeting with the New York school systems up in upstate New York. So wherever you guys are, we provide service. And believe me, Socrates has been with me in California and in many spots. So
absolutely.
We work together. I love Socrates, one of the smartest guys I know, and we're here to help. So let me help educate you. Even if you don't buy from us, you need to understand how to make these decisions effectively.
Mike, we're going to close out, but we'll be back next week to share with our viewership. Everyone have a good night.
Socrates Garrett Live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community, and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with church leaders, politicians, business owners, and others. The time is now. Talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.